Yo, check it. Welcome back to another episode
of Yo, Check It podcast.
This is episode 54.
54.
Probably.
I'm pretty sure it's 54.
Yeah.
Beep, 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 beep.
That's the sound effect you need. Man.
I know the DJ sound effect.
I don't know. I'm not familiar with that one. And we have a special guest today, guys.
This is going to be a little awkward. But
I don't know this guy.
Mephisto is here. I'm here. I'm here.
And the special guest is Mr. Neon Babylon himself.
Why?
Neon Babylon. If you watched the last episode with Johnny, this is butter.
No.
He was like, no.
But he's also my husband, Monday through Friday. I'm just kidding.
Wow. Yeah, because I have the weekends off. There it is. And let's get the conversation started.
So that's the weekend song.
No, I'm just kidding. But he is my husband all the days. We've been together. Dang. So June 22nd, like everybody should care, is our 8-year anniversary and our 1-year wedding anniversary.
Good for you.
We made it.
And our son is 3, so you guys
Oh,
have
damn,
fun
it's
with
already,
that math.
it's already been a year?
Yeah, it'll be a
Yeah.
year next couple weeks.
On
Damn.
the 22nd.
JERiCK filmed that, and he made a beautiful
Oh, yeah. It was gorgeous.
video. And I think I'm actually going to post
Are you guys going
it.
to post it?
I'm going to post it, yeah. I
Nice.
didn't post it yet because I was like, oh, we'll just have it for ourselves. But I was like, I'll post it for our 1 year.
Okay.
Because
that's
then
cool.
also everyone's going to know my vows to him. And they're going to know how much I love him and stuff. Lame. Just kidding. No, but it'll be good. All right. So since you're a new guest and you've never been on and since you've
You
never,
want to introduce yourself,
I
Anthony?
actually have been on Yo Check It.
Oh, yeah,
on
he
the-
has.
I did.
He
what?
has.
He has?
Last summer during all
Yeah.
like the riots and all that stuff like that.
Yeah.
So this is my second time
He's not a new guest, I guess.
Oh,
yeah.
where?
at the old
In
studio.
the studio?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah, it was.
You didn't watch that,
I
Felicia?
think I did.
I don't think she did.
No,
we
I
did. We watched it at
because you
home.
were cussing a lot.
Yeah, I had to turn it off because of Keelan.
Yeah, I watched it. He was freaking
Yeah. I was
bombing it
upset.
up,
I was
bombing it
upset.
up.
Yeah, it was me and Mickey, and then yeah, it was.
Well,
it was a
I
good
guess
show.
welcome back then.
No, welcome back. I guess you ain't that special.
Oh, so you're gonna get real loose this podcast.
I know.
Okay.
Is that your first drink?
On an empty stomach. Yes. All right.
I mean, we can still ask him the two
yeah,
questions. I don't think.
Well, first introduce yourself. Who are you?
Mr. Neon Babylon? Clearly,
What's your name?
What's your name?
my name is Anthony. For anyone that doesn't know.
Thank you. All right.
All right.
So we'll do the two questions.
Okay.
First question is, what is your guilty pleasure?
Felicia can't be one of them.
Well, we're married now, so it's all above board. But she was a guilty pleasure in the beginning. That's a different podcast. It's another
All right.
conversation.
Well, we got to bring back Anthony for the.
yeah. Yeah,
For-
that'll be on
what's the title?
Whatever
of the,
that one
that'll be
is.
on the
Title-
that'll be on the Patreon. We're just gonna call that episode Mississippi. That's what we're just gonna call that episode.
Mississippi was a good time.
Guilty pleasure. Like, what is it? I'm sorry. What's a guilty pleasure?
All right. So
So something that you really enjoy, but you're kind of embarrassed to admit.
Oh, Britney Spears.
Oh, hell yeah.
what is the song that you like?
Toxic. Oh my
Oh,
god.
Toxic's a great song.
Anytime Toxic comes on the radio, I don't care if I have Jay-Z or Kanye loaded up. Like, we're gonna listen to Toxic in its entirety before we do anything else.
Toxic's actually a really good song.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I was a
love that
Britney
song.
fan, so don't got to tell me twice.
That's true.
Well, I guess I'm not that embarrassed by it. I was pretty proud to say that. So,
Well, I think like
I know
earlier,
people
like early
don't-
in your life, you
yeah.
were, you're
Yeah,
probably
because
most
I-
people
embarrassed.
don't know that. Like my very, very close friend Jonathan, he knows because I used to play it in the house like really loud.
Yeah, because I used to be kind of embarrassed about like liking Britney Spears too. Because like I wouldn't, drive up like have the windows open, bumping like music, and then Britney Spears comes on, and I'm just like turn up the window a little bit, turn it down. But now I don't really give a fuck.
That's right. There you go.
Be proud.
There you go.
I guess that's just what happens when you get a little bit older. You just
Stop giving a fuck.
You stop caring about what other people think.
exactly.
Yeah.
To a degree.
That's why like whenever you go somewhere and there's a dance floor, all you see is like the older people because they don't care. Like my grandma frequents Rail City, and she'd be out there on the floor throwing out a little leg, And mind you, my grandma's like, she's 90.
Hey, you know what? If she can still move at 90, good for her.
No, I know. It keeps her alive, man. Her hips are
that's true.
prime for the dance floor. She be doing it out there. Good for her.
Man.
Good job, Grandma. I love you.
Damn, your grandma's 90, huh?
Yeah.
Damn.
And she doesn't look 90. Her aging, excellent. So
You should ask her what her secret is.
she's always laughing. I think that's the secret.
I mean, laughing's good for you.
She's very happy. She's a very happy person. I don't think she's had like a lot of stress in her life. She's basically taken care of by my grandpa. So
Nice.
nice.
Sounds cool.
All right. Question number 2 is JERiCK.
Question number 2 is, what's your current obsession?
Masterpiece Studio. That's my current obsession.
Nice.
Anybody that comes in here knows, it's all I really care about in a business sense right now. That's of course there's other things to care about in the world, but my current obsession is getting this studio the respect it deserves and the money it deserves.
Fair
I
enough.
feel that. Nice.
So yeah.
Cool. Those are some cool answers.
Oh man.
All right. I guess we'll just get on with it then.
Jump right in. So I think, was it our first episode that we talked about it, or what episode?
I don't remember.
It was like one of the first couple episodes that we shot in Masterpiece Studio, but we briefly touched on the 5 love languages.
Dun, dun, dun.
And
there has to be some sounds in here.
what a joke.
Yes. Yes.
And we kind of joked around saying that it should be a couple thing. And what better couple to have than these two?
I mean, you guys been together for 8 years, so that's kind of like a good,
Right. But I didn't even know what the 5 love languages were. So we're going to recap it
All right,
here.
Felicia, school them. Let's go.
So first of all, this is actually a book. So if you're interested in reading about it, it's a book called The 5 Love Languages by, I think, Dr. Chapman. And he says that there's chaps. There are
Just
5.
been drinking, guys.
I haven't. I literally had water before this, and I had a couple sips of this lemon.
Disgusting, huh?
It's not too good. So anyways, so to dive deep into these 5 primary love languages that people speak that I didn't know I spoke of because I didn't know they existed. The first one, or just one of them, is words of affirmation. Then there's quality time. There's physical touch, acts of service, and receiving gifts.
Do we need to explain that, or that's pretty much
I mean,
self-explanatory, right?
we can kind of talk about it. So
Okay.
it says, the words of affirmation. So in simple terms, the words of affirmation is basically expressing affection through spoken words, praise, or appreciation. I love you. You look beautiful today. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Go get him, honey. I'm just kidding. I don't know. Another one is quality time. Love and affection are expressed through this love language when someone gives someone else their undivided attention. So it's like, look at me, look at me.
Why does she look at me like that? You see, here we go. Let's do it. Let's
This episode is just roasting Anthony.
Look, it talks about it even more. This means putting down the cell phone. No. and turning off the tablet. Just kidding. Making
So
eye
you're talking
contact.
about you and your son right now.
Making eye contact and actively listening. And obviously, it's quality over quantity, spending time together, pretty self-explanatory. Then there's physical touch. So this is somebody who feels loved through physical affection. Aside from sex, those who have physical touch as their primary love language feel loved when their partner shows physical affection in some way, like holding their hand, touching their arm, giving them a massage, slapping them on the side of the head. I'm just kidding. Giving them,
I can't believe
like-
this is the episode that I'm here
This is
for.
just
I
roasting
cannot
Anthony
believe
episode. This is just the
it.
title of
What
the
do you mean?
episode.
And then
Lord.
an idea of a perfect date would be cuddling on the couch with a glass of wine and a good
Okay. See, that's where it loses me. But go ahead.
Well-
Let's get through this list.
Yeah, so now we're moving on. You must feel guilt or something because I am not looking
I
at
haven't
you.
said anything. If JERiCK keeps saying that you're roasting me, I'm just going along with it. You know what I mean?
All right, so now acts of service. So this is when someone's primary love language is acts of service. They feel loved and appreciated when people do nice things for them. So whether it's helping with the dishes or putting gas in the car, acts of service go straight to the person's heart.
I do both of those things frequently.
Yes, he does.
What,
I will
washing the
admit that.
dishes and putting
But that
gas?
is all he. No, I'm just kidding.
Listen,
No,
I
he
keep the
does.
car running.
He's a great
and
dishwasher.
I keep utensils ready.
That's true.
Okay.
Those
True.
are very
It's
important
Very
stuff.
important.
Yeah.
You got to eat. All right, and the last one is receiving gifts. So to a person whose love language is receiving gifts, gift giving is symbolic of love and affection in their mind. They treasure not only the gift itself, but also the time and effort the gift giver put into it. What's
That's
more,
kind of selfish.
they do not necessarily expect large or expensive gifts. The love language receiving gifts is more what is behind the gift that appeals to them.
Okay.
So
All of those make sense.
going around our little table here, JERiCK, which one do you think you are?
So obviously there's receiving love language and there's also giving. For me, I think I like receiving words of affirmation. And giving, I think I'm words of affirmation giving too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, obviously I do little things of all those other stuff too. So it's not just I just do that,
Right.
But that's like the main one for me,
Nice.
words of affirmation. So I think let's just do giving and receiving, just like your main one, and then we can talk about like
Right.
the other stuff too.
What about yours?
I would say words of affirmation.
Really?
Yeah.
Receiving?
Receiving. I guess it can go.
Felicia, have you done that shit?
So this is an hour podcast. Again, horrible guest to have for an hour. So yeah,
We've been going hour 20, hour 30.
Okay. No, I think words of affirmation in terms of like receiving. Are we talking about giving or receiving right now? Is that selfish that I started with receiving?
No, you can,
No,
you can stuff whatever.
do receiving
Yeah,
yourself.
receiving.
Yeah. So I that's what I'm not gonna repeat it again. So you heard me. I think words of affirmation for me is like that's what is the most important because I'm listening to it and I feel like one is not mentioned that I hold in very high regard, which is respect. And so I guess you can kind of like lump that in with words of affirmation or maybe acts of service. I don't know.
Right.
But it's like when you are encouraging and when you are respectful and have your partner's back, that's like the ultimate sign of liking somebody. And because you can love somebody and not like them. And so, like, I think in order to have somebody's back and encourage them, you actually have to like the person.
Right.
So, yeah, I would go with that one.
Interesting.
How about giving? What do you think is yours?
That was really weird. Like
It went so silent. He doesn't
headphones
know.
went
He
so
doesn't know. He
silent.
doesn't do anything.
All right, this is a wonderful show. Let's go ahead and turn these lights off and get out of here. I I don't know. Like, I feel like in the current state that I'm in, I could definitely improve upon some things. I think I try to do the words of affirmation. I try to be encouraging and positive, and tell my wife that she's beautiful and pretty and talented and smart and all that stuff like that. So, yeah, I would say giving and receiving is the words.
All right. Felicia?
For me, I think
She's like, well, that was a lie, so now it's my turn.
No, you definitely do that for sure.
Sounds a little unsure, but okay.
Oh my goodness.
I think for me, stop laughing.
We still got our whole day to go too.
Oh my God.
Good grief.
So I think for me, honestly, I think I'm like the quality time.
1000%. I agree.
I am like such a
Receiving?
Receiving, like
Okay.
quality time.
Receiving, yes.
And I think also, outward, I think it's a combo between like quality time and like physical touch.
There it is. I knew it. I knew it. And I was like, I wasn't gonna say anything, and I was like, oh, that's Felicia.
Yeah.
See, at least you know, right?
Yeah. It's true though, because I'm very like, I'm cuddly, and it's like I want you. Oh God, I'm gonna sound clingy. How'd you deal with me all these years? But no, I'm very, I'm very much like I just want to spend time with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's go do something, and then like I get really hurt too if like
He doesn't hold your hand when you cross the street.
No. She's not that petty. But if I say, like, perfect example is last year with the studio, right? Felicia worked on the weekends. Most of the happenings happened on the weekend, right? So I would tell Felicia, hey, this weekend, I got blah, blah, blah. These people are coming through. Cool. You're sitting there laughing, talking, and then the FaceTime comes in, and I'm like, ah, shit, guys. I got to walk out of the room. Because not that she was, like, upset at me. She was upset at the situation of not being able to be included, right? Which counts as quality time.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? She wasn't able to spend quality time getting to know a lot of these people that I've gotten to know over the time. And also, it was always, back to the words of affirmation, I was always just saying, my wife, Felice, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. But she was never around,
Like
right?
nobody
And so
knew
it's
who it
like,
was.
almost like on this podcast where you like mention my name every podcast, and it's
Right.
like, does she really have a husband?
Who
Is
is
she
this mystery
lying?
guy?
Like, you know what I mean? And so like that's kind of how it was. So, I joked around with her, and I'm like, you have some serious FOMO. You know what I mean? But
Wait, what's FOMO?
it's fear of
Fear of
missing out.
missing out.
Oh, okay. He says that a lot, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like,
But
I
playing dumb,
I
Felicia.
actually had no idea what FOMO was.
But it's
Fear of missing out,
I,
for sure.
I joke around with it, but it has more to do with, yes, I want to be included in this because it's important to her as well. You know what I mean? So that's
I just want to
true.
be in the mix. And you know who's like that too? Our son.
Yep. Our son is very much like
Our
that.
son definitely wants to be in the mix
Oh
all
my
the
God.
time or be like the center of attention.
He could be eating in his high chair. If he hears, if he thinks me and Felicia are hugging in another room, he will jump out of his chair,
Literally
run in the
fly
room,
out.
and say, "No, I want to hug too." Which is fine. Like, he's a very loving child. Like, he's growing up in a loving environment. And anytime there's love or fun to be had, and he's not around, no, everything he'll come sprinting to you to try to come see what's going on.
Right.
So.
Funny. So, in regards to the 5 love languages, I mean, we're in a relationship. You've had your relationship prior. How do you think that's affected your relationship for the good or the bad of it?
Honestly, because I've only recently found out about the 5 love language, probably a couple years ago. So when I look back at my past relationships,
Right.
where I thought I was loving, you know,
Right.
because I was always kind of sweet to them and like always doing words of affirmation. But apparently, though, it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So like it didn't make sense to me. But after knowing the 5 love language, I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Like we
Right.
didn't know each other's love language, and because I think hers was probably like quality time and like gifts. Because we would always kind of argue about like, oh, how come you never buy me like flowers or chocolates and any of that stuff? So I'm just like,
boy.
I
yeah.
oh man, I think I'm a little bit like that too.
No, I'll tell you.
I'm not like give me flowers or whatever, but I'm like just be sentimental,
Right.
you know? So I'm
Right.
like, even if it's like you grab some construction paper in my son's room and like made something, like that would still be good. So sometimes I do get like a little butt hurt when
There's
it's
no
like,
effort.
yeah, or I'm like, you know, I can't give you a gift right now, but I'm like, just make me something. Make me something.
Yeah. So like after figuring that out, I was like, that makes so much,
Right.
you know, more sense now.
So do you think like going into your next relationship, do you think you're gonna want to know like what their love language is?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Because there's like some people, like for you guys have different love language, right?
Right.
So for Anthony, he likes to receive and give like words of affirmation.
Right.
So in his mind, like telling you that he loves you and you're pretty is good enough, but then you're like, how come you're not cuddling with me? You know, it's
Yeah.
like one of those things that you kind of have to
Hold me.
figure out. So even if it's even if it's not your love language, it's like you just gotta do it, I guess.
Right. Do I affirm you? See, no. I'm like questioning what I do with you now. I'm like,
So
You're like, I don't even know.
I'm like, what have these 8 years come to? I don't
she hasn't
know.
said anything positive to me in at least 2 years.
I think I do, but like,
No,
maybe
yeah.
it's-
So what?
I must have because
I mean, you guys are still together, so
lasted this
that's
long.
So I will say that words of affirmation are tricky because it's almost like if you run a business, right, and your friends buy all your stuff, it's thank you, but that's not what I'm going for. It's like when a stranger buys it, right, like it means more. So how I can may turn that into an analogy is like when we're out in public, like she is my biggest cheerleader. You know what I'm saying? So like we're in a room full of people, she will validate me and she will compliment me and she will champion me. And honestly, like I can get all the praise from everybody, but it's more important to hear it from my wife.
Yeah.
Because I know she's not gonna lie. Even in a crowded room of people, she's not gonna lie. She wouldn't say anything. You know what I'm saying? So it's even still important. So it's not like we're just not sitting around all day and be like, "You're handsome and you're pretty," and like it's like, come on, man. Like,
Yeah,
you're not gonna do it all day.
Yeah, you have to
But
mean
it's
it,
like-
obviously.
But
you know?
for me, it's like I'm a very like timing type of person. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes that goes against me because I'm like, if I don't think it's the right time to do something, I don't do it. And she'll be like, dude, like, I don't want to hug now. I wanted it 10 minutes ago. And I'm like, well, I wasn't ready 10 minutes ago. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So like
yeah.
timing is an important thing, but she always comes in at the right time with the words of affirmation. And so that's really helpful.
Oh,
There you go, Felicia. At least you're
Yeah,
doing some.
your turn.
You're doing stuff.
dodged the bullet. My turn. My turn about what?
I don't know. Whatever.
What, to explain what you do or don't do?
Well, I don't know. What's the format? Are we in therapy right now?
No, we're just kind of talking about it and see if it's, you know, something that we recognize within
Yeah.
each other.
You know, it's something that you said to JERiCK was like just in the midst of conversation, I'm thinking of like, I think the whole concept of love language is important, but I think you have to know who you are first.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like love language or not, I think there's a certain selflessness that you have to have, both giving and receiving. So, you know, it's kind of like if someone is not living up to what your love language is, you know, it's one thing to just say like, well, you're not satisfying the things that I need, but that person could be going through something. You know what I'm saying?
That's also true.
And so I think especially in it's very complicated, right? Because, you know, if someone's love language is gifts, like receiving gifts, right? And that's what you're doing, and that's what they become used to. Say you get fired. Say you're not in the mental space to do anything because you're like depressed or whatever the case may be. How far does that go till it's like you're not satisfying my love language and you're like, damn, like I was going through something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I do think you have to be courteous to people as well, and not just so much of like, are you satisfying everything? Because if it's a serious relationship, you have to take into account everything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's not always as easy as, you know, you haven't touched me. It's like, is something wrong? Is something wrong with you? Or something wrong with me? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it can be very complicated.
Yeah, because like part of it too, because like obviously the love language or whatever, like the love aspect of it is just one thing, you know, like there's also this different aspects of like you have your own lives that you gotta live.
Right.
And then you got your own shit to deal with, you know? So it's like one of those things that you kind of have to, you said, like take account. Like,
But that's where I think like communication kind of comes into play. Like I do feel like successful relationships have really good communication. And that's definitely something that I will say that you're very good at, because you're very good at communicating things, or like when you realize that something's going on, right, within us, you know, not necessarily as an individual.
Well, we never have problems.
But no, but you know, the thing is like we have come across our troubles, you know, big and small, but because he's so willing to talk through them, you know what I mean? I think we've been able to overcome a lot and kind of learn about each other a little bit more, because it's kind of difficult to face the negativity in relationships, and I feel like for some maybe it might be a turnoff. You know what I mean? Like when you realize like they don't do something a certain way, or they're not who you thought they were. But I don't think people really realize that relationship is about growth and understanding that growth and growing with them. You know what I mean?
yeah, because honestly, I don't think people should rely on their partner to be happy anyways, you know?
Right.
Because you can't just put that on the other person and be like, hey, make me happy. Like, do whatever you can.
Right.
You know, love me or whatever.
Right.
Like, if you don't love yourself or you're not happy with yourself, then you can't, probably shouldn't be in a relationship.
That's very
But
true.
that's something like, you know, even piggybacking off that, it's like when you're in a long relationship, you're gonna deal with that stuff, man. Like,
True.
Like Felicia was saying, like there's been periods where we weren't cool, like, you know what I mean? But it's like it had more to do with outside influence and like things that were just going on in our personal lives, you know. But it's like then you have to kind of just figure out like, well, what we have is stronger than this, and okay, like we have to just endure it if that's something that you want to do.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? If you found your person, if you think you found your person, it makes dealing with these issues a little bit easier. Whereas like if you're in like the talking or dating stage, like somebody could chew too loud and you're like, I'm out. Like, you know what I mean? So it's important to just kind of like understand long periods of time people are going to change throughout their lives. Like something they may have valued when they're 20 may not be something they value when they're 30. Right. And that could have been something that you fell in love with when they were 20. And it's like, well, I'm not that person anymore. So it's like, how do you constantly evolve? And you know what I mean?
I'm kind of curious too. I wonder if like the love language itself would change.
It could.
I think it can.
It absolutely
I think
can.
it definitely can. Because I think even like between us, like, yes, like I was saying that, you know, one is quality time, and that I think that's definitely number one. But even like the whole like physical touch, like it's become less about that. But I think a lot of that has changed because now we have our son. You know what I mean? So it's like the dynamic of your relationship changes because now you're responsible for a whole new human being that you're trying to cater to and develop. You know what I mean? So it's like a lot of that time that you spend, even like the quality time, right? So now it's like quality time with your child, or, you know, now it's like
as a family, yeah.
You know, even like the physical part, you know, a lot of that is just spent with our son. You know what I mean? So now I'm like, I want to cuddle with my son all the time, you know? And
it's like, and it's one of those things too. It's like, so like one of yours is like physical touch, right? So cuddling.
Yeah.
Now that you have your son, you can just cuddle with your son. You don't have to cuddle with him.
And,
so it's
you
like,
know, it was so interesting. So for his birthday, we celebrated, and it was like just like date night. So son was with grandma, and we went to the Grand Sierra, and we got a room together, and we sat on the couch. And we sat on the couch next to each other watching TV, right? And we were like, damn, when was the last time we did this? Like, when was the last time we sat on the couch, like, directly next to each other and just chilled and just had a moment, like, watching TV, you know? And I think that's an interesting thing to kind of realize, because in the moment you don't realize that you're not doing those little things anymore.
yeah.
But then you really appreciate those moments when you have the time to do it, you know? Because obviously both of us as parents, we would never give up the situation that we're in regards to like having our son.
Absolutely.
And, you know, dedicating all of our time to him. But it's like, it's crazy how different things become.
And you don't even, like you said, you don't even realize it because it becomes so seamless. Like it's the minute like you say you're pregnant, right? Like things start changing because you know your priorities are going to change. And then soon as your child comes out, it's like you just start evolving, like I think on a chemical level. And so it's like, again, that's part of the growth. So some things that you held dear are now less because now your child has prioritized those things because they need you. Right. You know what I mean? But to your point about the GSR, like even last weekend when we went to Fusion, right? And I'm like, damn, I can't remember the last time we just walked into an establishment at night together. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because schedule or child, like, you know what I'm saying? You just don't do those things that often. And it's like, and you don't even want to do the extravagant thing. It's not like, it has less to do about like going out and like drinking and whatever. It's like just being with your partner in this setting that like you haven't done in a long time. Yeah. Even just that can be helpful because it's like, yo, I like you. Like, I still like you. like you know what I mean?
It's kind of like a reset, you know?
Yeah,
like, after you're not doing it for a while, and then you're just like, oh, hang out one day, and be like, oh, okay, we're good again.
Yeah, we're good, It's
like...
for the next 6 months.
But it's almost like, it's like a...
Pretty much.
But it's like a good friendship, right? I think the measure of a good friendship, too, especially, like, as you get older, and we all start having families, and things change, like, you can't just hang out the way you used to hang out. You know what I'm saying? But it's like... I think a good genuine friend is somebody you can call like a year later and it's like you can't even tell that you've been apart. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing because it's like what you have is true and it's genuine, you know. So I think it's good to have those reminders every once in a while, but it's like you don't get them that often. And if that's what's something that's important to you, then you know, I guess you shouldn't have had a child, I guess.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Do you honestly, I think it helped that we were friends prior.
Absolutely.
Do you think it's good for you, like as an individual, like do you think being friends first helps a relationship, or have you experienced that at all?
I've never experienced it like that because it's usually when at least back in the day, when I see somebody that I'm interested in, it's always kind of just my goal was like, oh, I want to date that person. Right. You know, it was never like, oh, let's be friends and then we'll figure it out after. But then it's funny because it's like now that I'm a little bit older, I kind of want to, obviously, like if I'm interested in somebody, then I would go for it. But then it's like, it's actually kind of nice to actually get to know the person because it takes time to get to know somebody.
It does.
And after you get to know them for a while and be like, I don't know if this is what I want, or be like, damn, I really like you, you know?
And it's kind of nice too because I think when you're friends, you're a little bit more open, right? Because I feel like if you just date somebody, because I've done both, but if you date somebody early on, it's like you find out all the bad things while you're in the relationship.
Yeah.
you know. But it's like for him and I, like we were roommates, we were coworkers, we were like.
So
it's
how
like
was how was
all of our-
that? So let's just I guess
listen.
tell us
Are we
some
gonna-
some
are we gonna
stories.
Talk about Mississippi.
Chill.
I mean, you guys briefly talked about it. You told me what happened, but like,
So let's be clear. I think our situation was unique, but don't mistake it. Like when I saw Felicia, I wanted to court her, you know. But the situation,
court her.
the situation didn't allow for that. You know what I'm saying? And, but in becoming her friend, and again, we were coworkers as well. It was like you start to really know about someone, and there's just some things you still aren't gonna know until you're like intimate with somebody.
Yeah.
You know, but at least that whole part of like just being in a room together and being friends, I think so many relationships don't have the opportunity to do that
It's very
until
true.
they move in together, and then they're like,
Yeah.
holy shit,
Like,
Like,
we don't like
I
each
hate
other.
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Like I even knew what it was like to live with him, you know,
Yeah.
and I like even like the whole like dirty laundry. Like he knew mine, I knew his. Like we were like pretty,
Physical and metaphorically.
Like-
yeah. So
like we were
know?
pretty good friends, and like you would think that would kind of like taint the relationship. But I don't know, like for me, I think it was so helpful because I'm like, you literally can't hide anything.
yeah, it's
You know
like
what I mean?
it lets you know who the person is, and it almost is like you wish you could have that kind of transparency when you're dating somebody.
Yeah.
But no one's gonna do that. Like, let's be clear. Like, if we started off in a relationship, she wouldn't know half the shit she knows about me.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
because it's like when you're in a relationship, or at least like we just met somebody, right, and then you're dating, or like already, it's kind of like you're kind of tiptoeing a little bit, you
Yeah,
know,
you're
because you
meeting
want to
your
Like, you just wanna be
representative.
the
Yeah.
best.
you want to be the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
But then it's like it's not necessarily the truest version of you too.
Right.
Right. That's
So like,
true.
but
And
once
that's
you've
not
actually,
sustainable.
that's
It's
not
not
also
sustainable.
true. But when
But-
you actually become friends, you're like, fuck it, this is
Yeah.
who I am. And then if you like me like that, then that's cool.
And I think it's helped us be like more playful too. Like
Right.
we definitely have our friend moments, and sometimes like I mess around and I bring up stuff from the past, and I think he hates it.
It
for
makes
sure.
me more uncomfortable than it makes
But-
her, because I would have never told her
But I
if we
love
weren't
it.
friends. But you know, like I joke about it because I think that's what has made our relationship so strong. Is like we know how to be friends as well.
Yeah, but then you told me that you didn't really have any intention of being with him when you guys were friends, though.
Right. Exactly.
So like, I think like people should know that it's like it wasn't like, oh, let's just be friends and let's wait.
Yeah. So
you know.
it wasn't like a.
But for you, it was like, all right, let's just be friends and nothing else.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, you know, like we were friends, but like we were like flirty. I mean, we were. I probably was flirty for sure.
I don't remember that.
But I mean, like, it was kind of like we were just. I'm like, I can't even talk right now.
She got about to lie. Look at you, about to make up some shit.
No, I'm not about
making
to
shit
lie.
up,
I'm not
Felicia.
about to lie. But no, like, it's nice to talk about because it kind of makes me revisit like what it was like early on, you know?
Yeah.
But it was really fun. And like, yeah, I did not see him that way, but I also saw him as like my really good friend. And there was a point too, mind you, where I was a complete, and I hate talking about it, and so I won't like go deep into it, but I also wasn't a very nice person for a good part of that time, you know? So we kind of went through it too as friends. And then for him to kind of like, in a sense, like forgive me for being that way, you know, and then go into dating, you know, it was like we kind of went through a lot before things started happening, and then continued to go through a lot of things within that first couple years, because there was a lot that I had to change.
Yeah.
You know, like I literally had to become, I guess, a better person, you know, and he's even told me recently that some of the people that knew me before have even said that, you know, I've become a better version of myself, probably because he was around, you know,
For that.
that reason, you know, because I was all over the place, you know, didn't really have a lot of structure in the relationship either. So it was kind of nice to kind of have someone like guide me and hold my shoulders and be like, like
shake you a little bit.
This is where we're going.
So
you told him that I shook you? Because I did. I'm joking.
He didn't shake me.
That's your perspective. You had no intention of being with him, Anthony. When you guys were friends, what were your intentions? Obviously, you said when you first saw her, you were like.
Let's be clear. When I first saw Felicia, the same way I felt like this is a beautiful young lady. When I got to know her, she's very smart, right? Oh my God. Here we go. Do you need to leave the room for this?
I'm like blushing.
See, words of affirmation. Right? So, but she was, in a relationship, right? And so it's like, okay, like, whatever. It didn't stop me from doing what I do.
True.
I wasn't like saving myself, like, you know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, I used to tell her about all of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? But it was like
guys,
it wasn't like
I would try to be his wingman.
Oh God,
That's the friendship we had prior. I'd be like, oh, you see her? She's cute.
Now let's be clear. Like I have had female friends that were just friends. I wasn't like I was waiting for the relationship to end. It's like that was not my intention. You know what I'm saying? But it was like at the end of the day, she was still a very cool person to talk to, right? And so like you have to just kind of realize, all right, man, well this isn't gonna happen. So I'm gonna just keep doing me, but at least now I have like a friend that I can connect with or speak with. You know what I'm saying? I do think that there is benefit to having friends of the opposite sex.
Yeah.
Because you can get that perspective, like just some things that you may not, I guess, not comfortable, you know what I'm saying? But like your wife or husband just I may not say it the way that you're going to say it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Or vice versa or whatever. So, I think it's just good to have all perspectives on things, you know what I mean? But so I'm like, well, at least I'll have a friend. Like, I considered her a very good friend.
And he was very respectful. Like, he was very respectful of the relationship I was in, and just me as a person, you know what I mean? So even like when we first started dating and he would tell me all these things like, oh yeah, like since I first saw you, I wanted to be with you. I was like, okay, whatever. But then, like, I kid you not, like we would go out and I would meet his friends and his friends would be like, oh, so you're Felicia. And then be like, he would talk about you all the time. And I'd be like, damn.
Okay, now I need
he's
to leave
being
the room.
honest. He's being honest, you know?
So how long were you guys friends for?
Probably for
until you got into a relationship.
Well, we met in 2011 when we both got hired on the same team. And so we were probably friends. Well, we were friends for like 2 years before anything happened.
Yeah, before anything happened.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell your story, Felicia? What happened?
And it was an interesting. Okay, so we're just gonna come out with it. Should we just come out with it?
I don't care.
Hey, maybe this episode will come out on your anniversary. Who knows?
Oh, there you go.
Probably.
Yeah. We're talking about our past. No, so before we got together, the relationship I was in a relationship with a girl for 5 years. No, not 5 years, probably like 4 years or so. And so before we became friends and like we were starting to get to know each other, obviously it was like me and my girlfriend living together, and he had needed a place to live. And I was like, oh, this is a great idea. Like, no. Because,
you see how God works?
No, because we had like obviously an extra room, and I'm thinking like, oh, good, I'm gonna have somebody
extra money.
I'm gonna need some extra money. You know what I mean? So I asked my girlfriend. I was like, are you okay if we rent this room out? And she was totally cool with it. And so we became roommates. You know what I mean? And so that's basically how it started. But funny thing is he used to freaking crack jokes all the time. He used to call me Aqua Girl, and he would call me Lesbi Eyes. Or would you call me Lesbi Eyes or Lesbi Girls? Like before he even knew that I actually liked girls, like legitimately liked women. And so when I finally told him, I was like, how did you know? Like, did I tell you?
Yeah, that's why we were at work, and like I said something, and I said something, and she was like, who told you? And I was like,
Yeah, I was like, who
wait,
told
what?
you that?
Oops.
That
Yeah, I was like, I was just joking. I
And
didn't
I was
know.
like, I literally thought he knew because he joked about it all the time. So that's why, like, in our friendship too, like, we would make jokes and we would talk about, like, this is so weird. We would talk about, like, women together and, like, you know, basically create these fantasies. Like, if we went out together, like, who would get the hotter woman? Or that's why I was his wingman, because I was scouting out all the cuties for him. And
Nice.
I'd be like,
She's even had to help me take a couple of them home.
I've even had to take some
Hey,
home.
look at you.
I didn't even.
And now that I look back, that is so, like, I'm so ashamed of that, of that
know
period of my life. You know what I'm saying?
man, it is what it is.
Dude, he was a bachelor. What do you expect? Like, you were still very respectful. And he used to tell me, though, he's like, I wouldn't respect a lot of women. Or not that you wouldn't respect a lot of women.
Jesus Christ.
How am I saying this?
Can we get back to the love language? Good grief. No, what I would say,
I got it all wrong.
Good Lord. So basically, it's, you know who you want to spend time with and who you don't, right? And
Yeah.
there was just some people that I just knew I didn't want to spend an extended period of time with. You know what I mean? So I would explain that to Felicia, like, no, this is not like a serious thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I would probably say it funnier than the way I'm saying it now, but I'm also 36 and a father, and so I'm not going to say the things that I would say before, but you know what I'm saying? So, like, yeah, like, I just knew. I'm like, okay, this is like, we met, it's cool, whatever.
Yeah,
like,
it is what it is.
This is not a serious thing. And I was always upfront with people. I'm like, yo, this is not, I don't know what you're expecting from me, but this is what I'm willing to give, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? And so I would tell Felicia these things like, nope, that's not it. That's
But
not
he
the
would
one.
tell me that he would give me that, basically. Like, he would give me that time or appreciation.
She was someone that I knew I wanted to
Yeah.
spend an extended period of time with.
Because every now and then in our drunk episodes, you know what I mean? Things would be expressed, you know what I mean? But again, like, the entire time, he was still very respectful of our relationship because, you know, they were even friends, you know, at least cordial outside of that. I mean, for God's sakes, we were roommates, you know what I mean? And so, mind you, a lot of my circle at the time were also of the LGBTQ community. And so when towards the end of that relationship, and then all of a sudden I started catching feelings for a guy, like, I was extremely, extremely confused because I was like, I remember having these thoughts. I was like, why am I liking a guy right now?
But you had a boyfriend before.
And I have, like, I've had both. So clearly I was, you know, I just liked who I liked, you know what I mean? So whether you want to label it like bi or fluid or, you know, whatnot, it's just, I liked people for who they were, like, regardless of the gender, right? So if you were a good person, you know, and I was attracted to that, then that's what I liked. You know what I mean? Because I had boyfriends prior to that. The girlfriend that I was with, that was the longest girlfriend relationship that I've had, but I've dated, you know, women prior to that too. So I was just, you know, I just liked who I liked. And that's really how I explained it. But I think towards the end when I started liking guys again, because I thought that was it. I was like, this is who I'm going to end up with. You know, this is going to be the life that I'm going to have with this person. You know, even to the point where a little bit prior we started, you know, thinking about what it'd be like to adopt kids. You know, because we still wanted a family, you know what I mean? So then to all of a sudden, when we kind of had a shift at the end of our relationship because I started really focusing on myself and trying to get healthy. So that already kind of started that separation. But then he brings up Mississippi because when we went on a trip to Mississippi, it was a work trip. That was when I kind of realized, I was like, oh, I think I really like this person. And that's when I was like very, very confused because I had like really started to catch feelings.
Did it just like all of a sudden it just like
Yes.
the glass shattered and we're like,
it
what the
was-
fuck?
It was a literal like someone ripped like the blinds from my eyes or whatever, a wall in front of me, because we were in like this cantina and we were having a conversation, and I think that's what I really enjoyed about him and I's friendship is we would have really good conversations, you know, really in-depth intellectual things. Like I knew he was smart, and like he says I'm smart, but he's very intelligent. You know what I mean? So we were having a really good conversation, and then it was like, I don't know if it was the mango margaritas, I don't know. But I was like...
It was definitely the mango margarita.
But I was like in awe, you know what I mean? And so ever since then, it was like, oh, like I think this is my person now. You know what I mean? And that was a hard shift too, I think, for even my inner circle at the time. Because it breaks my heart when I think about it, because a lot of them I considered really good friends, and I truly enjoyed the time that I spent with them. But none of them I really ended up talking to immediately after. And so it is what it is. So it's kind of like that life a lot of people currently don't know about, but I'm not afraid to talk about it. And thankfully, you know, he allows me to express it when I need to. But if you go deep into my Instagram page, you'll see, you know, that was my life. Like, I don't try to hide it. I didn't archive anything because I'm like, why? You know,
True.
You have your past, you have your relationships, and I will always be that person. But I was like, this is my person that I was supposed to end up with. You know what I mean? Like the person that I love, and now we have our family. And it was a literal like, and I always talk about it because it was almost like my soul found my soulmate, because I found like I was searching for this person, and it was like a relief when I found him, and I realized that he was it.
Yeah, it's crazy because like it happened when because you said you were working on yourself, trying to be better,
Right.
and then
Yeah.
once you got to that point, and then all of a sudden, you know, snap, and
Yeah.
then we're like, hey, universe, we're like, hey, here you go.
Yeah, no,
you're ready for this.
Yeah, it's true. It's very true. Because like like we discussed originally, that wasn't the plan, right? Because friendships, even though it was always part of his plan. So whether it was a combination of
Damn, I sound like, bro,
whether it was whether it was a combination of him manifesting that, and then me having to go through whatever I had to go through in order to realize that, like, it was literally meant to be. You know what I mean?
yeah, like I was doing vision boards before I knew that was like cool. So my vision board literally was in my head, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna date Felicia one day. And like,
There you
that was
go.
something that I like legitimately wanted. Like when I look back, like, you know, like manifesting The Secret and all that stuff like that, like, you know, it sounds kind of like horse shit, to be honest. However, I've kind of come around to some of those things because I'm like, oh, I've been doing this like most of my adult life. Like the things that I really wanted, you just work at them, you know. And I always say like, well, I didn't make this up, but it's like once the universe or whoever your angel, once they know that you're ready, then the opportunities will start presenting themselves. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's like, what's funny is about that trip that she's talking about, right? Whatever she was going through that was helping her mind get prepared for maybe there's going to be a change in your life or, you know, whatever.
Shift.
I wasn't supposed to go on that trip. So she was asked to go on the trip because we were both trainers at this place, right? For the company that we work for. So she was asked to go on the trip. And they possibly wanted somebody else to go, but I was not a consideration. So Felicia was like, hey, like, why don't you see if Anthony can go? Like, can Anthony go with me? Because we're both trainers, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. But even after that, they were like, well, we'll see. And they went and asked a whole group of people.
Yeah,
all
I'll
of them
say
said no. And then they came to me and was like, hey, like, do you want to go on this trip? And I was like, hell yeah, I want to go on this trip. So even like that, without that Mississippi trip, we may not be here right now.
Yeah.
So when you start looking at all these things, it was like, oh no, this was like supposed to happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it was very. If one person would have said yes, I wouldn't have gone.
Yeah. Universe.
I
So-
know. It's
Crazy.
just alignment. I truly believe, because a part of me kind of believes in like past lives and, kind of traveling along with certain souls throughout different bodies. I feel like my sister is one of them. And then I think he's another person. And some people might understand it and you may think I'm completely cuckoo. But I truly believe like,
Well, you are drinking a White Claw.
but I truly believe that like these are definitely a couple people that we end up finding each other in some form
Yeah.
every
Because
time.
I believe in that too.
Every time, because it just feels right. It's like, there's just certain things or like energies and connections like that are unexplainable. And when when I realized that moment that this mask or veil was lifted, and I literally, I can't explain, like I will never forget that feeling. I'm truly feeling like relief. Like I have been freaking trying to find you for how long now?
Yeah.
And it's like, here you freaking are, like this whole time.
Yeah, it's because you were ready,
Yeah.
So you've been working on yourself, and then you basically just aligned to like his vibration, I guess.
Right. But I think I needed to go through everything first because I don't think I would have been prepared to change or transform, because when we also got together, I had to change a lot of my lifestyle, because I was running rampant in the streets of Reno.
and listen, and I'm not like one of those like authoritarian boyfriend type of things. I'm not like you, but
No, it wasn't like that.
I'm like, yo,
He
you
let
want to go
me-
do
yeah.
what you do, but always goes back to respect with me. I'm like, I am not gonna be disrespected or have my time wasted.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna be together, there are just some things that I don't think are cool. You know
And
what I'm saying?
He would basically give me the option. You know what I mean? Like, you can do this, but this is the consequence. But again, it really came down to like what we want to be as a couple. And like he said, he's very big on respect. And then also in a sense, like respecting myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there was just a lot of things that had gone on that I probably shouldn't have been doing. And I should have been taking care of myself a lot more anyways. So he just kind of helped guide me in that sense. You know what I mean? Just kind of harness all of that, and he'll let me have my fun. Now he'll let me have my fun because he knows I can like be free and not be crazy free. You know what I mean? But that took time. But a lot of the people, even some of my, that were my friends at the time, even said like, he is what you needed, basically. He's like, you needed him in your life to control you, because even my friends knew how freaking crazy I was, and I'm like, to be honest, I don't know where I'd be today if I hadn't found him 8 years ago. You know what I mean?
But it's crazy though, because like I feel like for a lot of people that you meet, it's like you needed those people, even though like things that didn't work out,
Right.
like you needed those people for you to learn. Because I've definitely had some people in my life that I needed to have, even though things didn't work out, but like I needed to have that experience, be like, to teach me something that like either I'm not respecting myself enough or I'm not loving myself enough.
Right.
It's like one of those things. I'd be like, this person showed me like, hey, like I really need to put myself first,
Right. Yeah, that's true.
So
And you do need those people, and he was definitely one of those people. So
cool story, bro.
Thanks, babe.
It's Mephisto. I'm joking.
Oh,
No,
man.
that's so yeah. So everybody kind of knows, and that's our story. We actually haven't said that story in a long time.
Yeah.
Now
But we always,
now it's on the internet for
It's on the
everybody
internet
to
forever.
hear.
but it's good. And we continue, and we evolve. We've evolved as who we were when we first started. You know what I mean? Like, I can't say I'm the same person. I don't think he can say he's the same person either.
Definitely not.
But I think a good thing that has come from all of that is I definitely feel like I'm a better person, and I think I've allowed him and you can correct me if you don't feel this way, but I think I've allowed you to be more open to dividing like your attention, because when I first met him, he was very like, 'cause he had another clothing brand, and so he was very focused, you know, one of those individuals where it's like, this is what I want to do and nothing can like separate that, you know. And that was like one of like the harder talks we had to basically have, and it was kind of like, well, this is
really interesting, because how she describes me prior that's one of the reasons why I wasn't really trying to date anyone seriously, because I was like, you will never be more important to me than me advancing myself, my career, my status, anything like that, right? So I'm like, I'm not even going to waste your time, and I know you're going to waste mine, so no, right? I've always been very intentional, right? So when I say like stuff like with the universe and the secret and people make intention candles and pray and all, I didn't know what any of that was. It was just how I lived my life, right? One of the things I intended was being with her, right? But like she said, like that was hard in the beginning of our relationship, was because I knew that I wanted to be with her, but I'm like, this is still also very important to me. Like, this goal has not shifted. And as of recent, like through the whole pandemic, right? Like, you know, I was on furlough.
Yeah.
The studio was killing. Neon Babylon was killing. Coming out of furlough, I get a promotion. I get to work from home. Like, you know what I'm saying? And she had to work 6 days a week or work 3 days a week, 14-hour days through the whole thing, right? And it's always like, how do you always get these opportunities? How do you always get so lucky? It's because my intention has never shifted. So I think the universe keeps rewarding me with opportunities because my intention never shifts. And I always think back to, I always tell people, like, being with her was something that I manifested. No matter what, it always came back to Felicia until the opportunity presented itself, to where it's like, here is the door. Either you're going to capitalize on it or you're not. You know what I mean? So like, everything in my life has been a result of intention, including my wife.
Even if you think about it though too, even your intention to have your own line, like, even though I came in the picture, I don't think I necessarily took you away from that either.
No, never.
Because now it's like, supportive. Now we're just including it. You know what I mean? So, and I'm very supportive of the things that you do. You know, I literally am his cheerleader. It's true.
Hey, it's the words of affirmation, you know?
And it's good to hear, man, like, because it's like, it lets you know at least at the end of the day, my wife likes what I'm doing. So also people are like, if my wife is cool with it, I'm cool with it, because I don't have to go home to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have to go home to her. Like, we have to figure out this thing together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
that's true. And here we are.
8 years later.
8 years later.
In a new studio.
In our new studio.
Hey, did we manifest this studio too? Because the energy was dying in the old studio. Yeah. And literally we were presented
That's true.
Like a week later, after having the conversation of like, we need to move on from this.
Yeah.
Because we don't feel good about this anymore. A week later, the property manager came and said, hey, I have this bigger space. Do you guys want it?
Yeah.
For literally the same price. Like, so it was like, all right, man. How many times? Like, you know what I'm saying?
And he's literally like, you're like a walking billboard for like manifesting things. Like, I swear, he says things, and even if it's like years later or months later, whatever, like I have a pretty good memory, so I'll remember a lot of things that he says, and I'm like, you talked about this. I'm like, you talked about that.
So it's my intention cool. to, you know, have a beautiful family, create a legacy. I need my intention to be to lose weight. All right, JERiCK.
That's both our intentions.
I mean,
right
that
now.
intention needs to be like really
I know,
on
but
point
see,
too.
the
So it's like
problem
I
is-
kind of want to lose weight.
No, and that's the thing, man. It's like I've never these things that I have now, right? The studio, the clothing, my family, you know, like that's what I really wanted. You know what I'm saying? And it's almost like getting in shape was never like
it's never a
focal point.
priority. So it's like
You know what I'm saying? So it's like in order for me to put that high on my
Oh my
intention
gosh,
list,
I'm sorry.
Lord have mercy. Okay. There's a spike. It's like something else has to replace it. You know, like it has to replace something else. And I'm like, I'm not willing to sacrifice anything else
fair.
to put that on the list. Like I'm trying, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, I know what I care about. I know what I want. And it's hard.
Yeah,
You know,
it's like you
it's
only
hard.
have a certain amount of energy, you know. Like at least this is how I look at it.
Right.
Like if you want something else outside of that, of like what you already currently have or what you currently want, it's like you kind of have to make room for it, you know.
Yeah.
And like you say, you're not willing to sacrifice what you already have.
Yeah. It's like if someone were to cook everything for me, I would eat it.
True,
Right. But it's like
Felicia.
But guess who's not cooking? Me. Because I need somebody to cook for us.
and listen, like, don't get mistaken. Like, she's a wonderful cook. I think now, with everything going on, with us trying to run multiple entities and our, you know, biggest investment, which is our child, you know what I mean? Like, some things just, you don't have a lot of time for things anymore.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And so it's like, that's when you say, like, okay, I need help, right? When it's like, when you're looking at some people who are like, how do they do it? And it's like, well, look at their day-to-day workload and look at yours. If we had nothing else, when we moved to Vegas and we had nothing to do, we worked out 5 days a week.
Man. Yeah.
So it's not that it's
and I was
hard.
getting ripped. Like
she
I was
she was stronger then than I am now.
Like I was like, man, I was really strong. I'll be picking up like the 80s on like the
damn,
back.
Felicia.
She was like snatching weights, and it was like pretty
yeah.
scary.
And
right?
it was like I would like you could see like my muscle development here. Yeah, I was shaping up. I was shaping up to be real nice.
But it's like, you know,
And then now I'm shaping down.
well, it's still a shape. I'm
You
still
know,
in
round
shape,
is still a shape,
but
Felicia.
the shape is a circle.
That's not the shape
Yeah,
that I want.
that's a shape, you know. But it's like, yeah, it's just now we have to try to figure out how to put these things into all these little compartmental boxes, and that shit is not easy, man.
That's true.
It goes back to maintaining a relationship too. When you're dealing with so much, sometimes things are just gonna fall by the wayside, man. And you
Yeah.
have to kind of look back and be like, okay, no, I like this person. Let me try to fix this. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So
And it doesn't always work. But in our case, it has. So I'm
Hey,
thankful.
good for you.
Yeah.
Yay.
Screw you.
I'm so
Fuck
alone.
you.
I'm so alone.
I know, I'm so alone.
No. Because someone has asked, whoa. Actually, because someone the other day too asked us like, or they were not, I don't know if it was impressed. I forgot exactly the words, but they were kind of complimenting on the fact that you and I work well together
Yeah, honestly, because like
in our business.
from an outside perspective, like I can see you guys as kind of like a power couple kind of thing, you know? You guys work well together and you clearly communicate well,
I think we offset the strengths that we lack.
and that too.
You know what I mean? And so it just works. And there's a lot of understanding and I don't know, yeah, communication.
Yeah, because honestly,
I don't think there is a perfect ingredient list and combination for working well together if you're in a relationship.
yeah, because a lot of like couples can't even work together, you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're spending too much time together. It's like,
it's
Well,
like,
good thing that's my love language.
but you know, like Felicia was saying, I haven't called her Felicia this much in my like life. This is weird, but
Yeah, usually it's like when he's mad and I'm like, what'd you call me? What's my name?
But no, when she says that her name is wife, it's not. I can't call her Felicia. Like if she called me Anthony, I'd be like, what happened?
Yeah, it's like, why did you just call me by my first name?
Yeah, it's weird. But like she said, like we have like qualities that offset. Like I'm like anybody that knows me, man, I'm like visionary. Like it's like all of this stuff is just like circulating all the time. But you need someone that is going to be on the ground level being like, all right, that's cool, but what are we gonna do? You know what I'm saying?
Like this is the realistic vision.
So
I
like,
kind of like
what
I harness those ideas,
yeah,
and I bring it back down to reality.
And so it's like, how do we do realistic steps, right? It's like, look at the studio as a perfect example. So like the reason why it looks the way it looks is because there's somebody that's actualizing the vision. So you have to have both. But we've had these conversations about who's going to do what. And that goes back to communication, which most relationships don't even have good communication in general. And then try to put a business on top of that.
Yeah.
It's like all business comes down to communication, right? Like a lot of things come down to good or bad communication. So if you just don't know how to talk to each other or ask questions or disagree or any of that stuff, then relationship or not, it's going to fail.
Right. Because I think a part of that too is you can't put your relationship first in the business either.
Yeah.
Right? Because you start
those are two separate
letting
things.
slide, or you take things a little bit too personal. And I think I'm pretty good at separating the two, which sometimes, you know, it'll lead to disagreements or arguments, you know, but we're at the end of the day, it's like home is our relationship and our love and our family, you know, but when we talk about our business, like we have to talk about business, even if it's going to hurt your feelings or even if it's something you don't want to, you don't want to hear, but it's like you have to have those tough conversations. And I think it's even more difficult or challenging to have with somebody that you love and have to go home to at the end of the day.
Because then there's no real separation. And so that's when you have to really be trained to say, all right, this was just a business conversation.
Yeah.
And
This is gonna ruin you.
Cool, we argued, and let's go get a drink or something, or let's go eat, or let's go do something else. So like, yeah, it's all good. You know?
So
Nice. That was a really cool conversation.
I know.
And full disclosure, guys, I'm not lonely. I am single though, for all the ladies out there.
Single and ready to mingle.
No, honestly, because I think I'm finally at that point where because I thought I knew what I wanted,
Right.
but then like now I really do like know
what you want.
what I want.
That's good.
And it's
So
like
it's-
maybe in that moment you knew what you wanted, but
Yeah.
the moment's different now.
That's true. That is
You
true.
know,
Maybe
you're-
I just wanted.
You're always evolving as a person, you
Yeah.
know, and so things don't always stay the same all the time. You
Absolutely.
know? And that's
Yeah,
totally
that's true.
okay. So as long as you're happy and comfortable where you're at,
Yeah, I am.
it is what it is. Good.
And
And I know you are. 'Cause
I know.
I know
'Cause
the
she's
stories.
on her way. She's coming. If you know what I mean.
Like she's literally about to be here right now. Or no? Okay. No, this was good. I'm be honest. I wasn't sure about the subject, man. I'm be honest.
She
with
told me that's why you said you wanted to talk about 5 love language.
you. No. But I keep a log of like ideas and
Yeah,
concepts
yeah.
and all that, and then it was like.
But that was one of the ones that we said we should talk about. I
Right.
think it
That's
ended
true.
up good because then we kind of
That
talked
was
about our
actually I liked
relationship.
it.
No, it was a really cool conversation
Yeah.
because it gets
We let out
to-
some teasers.
teasers.
Well, I guess not
It's not a
teasers.
teaser. It's a
We gave you a tease and the
and the squeeze.
The tease and the squeeze.
well, now
Let's
you know.
go.
Now you know our whole history.
Lord have
Whatever.
mercy. Yeah, you should do the next one when JERiCK can bring his girl, and then you guys can embarrass her in front of the world.
Well, let me
you
find a girl first,
Were you
and then
embarrassed?
I wasn't embarrassed, but you know I'm
You
very.
never get
I
embarrassed.
know I don't get embarrassed.
He hates
very often.
embarrassment and awkward situations, anyways.
Yeah.
So, all right. I think
Cool.
that's it.
Yeah,
That's
that was
all I
pretty
got.
good.
Yeah.
yeah, we'll talk about
Welcome
the
to
other
our
ideas
life.
you got next episode because I feel like that was kind of a pretty solid conversation
Yeah.
for what it was.
That was good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you. Thanks for
This was cool. This was a healthy conversation.
I think so. What's going on?
Awkward silence.
What's happening?
Are we done?
Yeah, I dead ass thought he stopped recording. That's why I stopped talking.
Oh no,
it's still
we're
recording.
The
recording.
record button is still lit.
No,
Yeah.
but we're
I'm
good.
a fool.
No, but I mean, if you guys know us and if you ever have any questions on how to run a business together, never ask us. Thank you. No, I mean, you could ask us. I don't care. I really don't have a solid
are you
answer.
still looking for interns for the studio?
Oh yeah, let's talk. We can
yeah.
briefly talk about that.
little plug.
If they got all the way out to the end.
I know. If you get to the end of the episode,
Nah, they did. This is a crazy episode.
we're looking for
Intern.
interns.
Do you want to explain what that is, or what the
So
job title?
The root of the word. No, so honestly, like a big part of the studio is, connecting with the community and providing opportunities wherever we can. And JERiCK here made a great point. In order for us to scale, we're going to need some help. And so we're trying to have people along for this ride on this journey that may want to learn some things in the process and hang out with some cool people on occasion.
Some cool cats.
Oh God!
Cool cast like Felicia.
Just let me handle it. Let me do it, man.
Cut that out.
And so we do have one intern right now. Shout out to Edgar. He's doing his thing, trying to hold down 2 jobs. So I don't want to leave him out. But yeah, we're kind of opening up the doors, we're opening up the idea of opening up the doors to a more expansive team. So
Yeah, that'd be great.
if you do something in the creative field, if you design, if you film, photo, edit, stuff like that. We're not really looking for chefs. We're not really looking for.
Maybe we are.
I guess maybe you are.
Yeah, because remember, we're trying to lose some weight.
Exactly.
So, if there's some interest out there, hit the Masterpiece Studio Instagram.
And you'll be talking to me.
Yeah. So
Felicia.
don't hey bro masterpiece
What's up,
because it's
bro?
Felicia.
Yeah, hey, so I'm going to say it too. You're not talking to me when you guys are talking to Masterpiece Studio. I know I'm like usually the most vocal one. Like I'm the one that people talk to the most, but you are talking to my wife. Please address her as such. You are not talking to me.
Thank you. And we'll end it with that.
Yep. Peace.
Oh, gosh.